What happens in Jerusalem could change everything you know about the future of the world. The third temple is being prepared, and the apocalypse may have already begun. But what does this really mean for our reality? Trump, with his actions and decisions, has become a central figure in this process, and you can't ignore the signs that are being drawn before us. The world is changing, and today's events could be just the beginning of something much bigger than we can imagine. What is happening to Jerusalem is not just a political movement or any territorial dispute. Jerusalem has always been the epicenter of biblical prophecies, and now, with Trump recognizing the city as the capital of Israel, we are seeing the pieces of a big puzzle coming together. This is a clear sign that something much bigger is at play, something that goes beyond diplomacy, something that may be connecting the prophecies of Revelation with the events we experience today. The Bible already warned us that, before the Great Tribulation, the Third Temple of Jerusalem would be rebuilt, and that's closer than ever. The Temple Institute in Israel already has the ready plans, the sacred utensils prepared, and trained priests for rituals. But why hasn't this temple been built yet? The answer may lie in global politics, in the decisions made by leaders like Trump. Could it be that he is helping to accelerate the realization of a prophecy that could be the final milestone of the end times? Jerusalem has become the point of convergence of forces that want control of this holy city, and with the stance of Trump regarding Israel, we see that the scenario is becoming increasingly tense. Trump's every move, every decision, has a weight that goes far beyond current politics. He is not just defending Israel, he may be playing a role central in the fulfillment of the scriptures that talk about the end times. But the issue here is not just about Israel, it is about the global impact. What would happen if, when support Israel, Trump was accelerating the path to the reconstruction of the temple and consequently to the fulfillment of an apocalyptic prophecy? We are watching a real power play being played on the global stage, where Jerusalem and the rebuilding of the temple play a crucial role in shaping the future of the planet. This is not a simple discussion. We are witnessing the transformation of a sacred city into a global battlefield, and Trump's role in this process may be much more important and prophetic than he himself imagines. The Third Temple is not just a physical place, but a symbol of what is to come. The Bible talks about the Antichrist sitting in this temple, proclaiming himself God and deceiving the world. Is Trump unintentionally helping pave the way for this apocalyptic figure? When we look at all this, the urgency of understanding what is happening becomes crucial. We can no longer look at the events in Jerusalem as something distant or irrelevant. We are in a unique moment in history where current events can be directly linked to prophecies that herald the end of times. The Trump's decision to support Israel and his stance on Jerusalem could be a sign that we are closer than we think to witnessing the Great Tribulation. Are we really prepared for what comes next? What can happen when the Third Temple is rebuilt? We are about to experience a transformation, global and spiritual, that will change forever the way we see the world and the future of humanity. Now that you know the crucial role that Trump and Jerusalem play in biblical prophecies, we can no longer ignore the signs that are happening before our eyes. Trump's decisions and their direct impact on the future of Israel and the entire world are more than political issues. They are key pieces of a great prophetic plan that is unfolding right now. You have the power to expand the reach of this message, and to enjoy with this video, you help bring this information to more people, multiplying the impact it can have. Click like now and be part of this mission, and most importantly, your opinion. It is essential to better understand what is happening and what it means for all of us. The future is being shaped by these decisions, and each of us has a role to play in this scenario. Your vision is unique and can inspire others to see life in a new way. Share in the comments what this message brought you and how you believe Trump's role could impact the prophecies of the apocalypse. Your voice has the power to enrich this discussion. Are you already part of this community that seeks true and others' transformation? When signing up, you become even stronger, being an essential part of a mission of enlightenment and change. Each new registration strengthens this journey to impact lives with information that goes beyond the conventional. Sign up now and be the protagonist of this transformation that we are promoting. Did you know that Jerusalem's Third Temple may be closer to being rebuilt than ever? And what is even more impressive, Donald Trump may be playing a crucial role in this process. Are you prepared for what this means for the future of the world? We are observing the fulfillment of one of the most powerful biblical prophecies, one that announces the end of times, and we are getting closer and closer to witnessing the transformation of the entire planet. The apocalypse. It may have already begun, and all of this may be unfolding before us as we speak. This is a truth that we can no longer ignore. The third temple, the key to so many biblical prophecies, is closer to being rebuilt. Jerusalem, the holy city, is already at the center of a global scenario that is changing every moment. And Trump's role in this process, it's more prophetic than many are willing to admit. What Trump has done in recent years, his decisions regarding Israel and Jerusalem, can have accelerated a plan that had already been prophesied centuries ago. Are we really on the brink of an event that will change everything we know? Imagine for a moment the third temple of Jerusalem, the one who the Bible predicts how the place where the Antichrist will proclaim himself God is about to be erected. And the prophecies about the end of times talk about a world leader that will appear to bring a false peace before a great tribulation. The reconstruction of this temple marks the beginning of a new era, an era where the Antichrist will reveal himself and rule the world with absolute power. The Bible warns us that this will happen in times of great conflict, and Jerusalem will be the center of this spiritual and geopolitical conflict. Now, when we observe the actions of Trump in relation to Israel, the question arises, is he fulfilling a greater prophetic role than we imagine? Or in a way involuntary, is helping to prepare the ground for the fulfillment of apocalyptic prophecies? The recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, for example, can be one of the biggest geopolitical movements of our era, but the truth is that it can be a crucial piece in the prophetic puzzle that is being assembled on the world stage. The third temple is already being planned to be rebuilt. We are not talking about a simple religious desire, but from the event that will be the final milestone for the fulfillment of a series of prophecies. And Trump, so involuntary or not, may be helping to speed up this process. According to the scriptures, this temple will be rebuilt before the arrival of Antichrist, and when that happens, the end of times will be imminent. With tensions in Jerusalem and the increasingly unstable geopolitical scenario, we can no longer ignore the global impact this will have. Trump and his relationship with Israel have always been questions that generated great global debate. Your decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, it wasn't just any act. This was a historic milestone, a decision that provoked international tensions, but also reinforced Israel's position on the global stage. Now we have to ask ourselves, what is the real impact of this decision on biblical prophecies? Is Trump fulfilling a divine role, or are we witnessing the beginning of a prophetic preparation for the events that will unfold? Jerusalem, with all its historical and spiritual burden, has always been seen as the center of the end times. The Bible says that the city will be the epicenter of the greatest spiritual and world conflicts, and everything that is happening now with Trump and Israel is directly linked to this. It's not one more simple political or religious dispute. The fate of Jerusalem is in the hands of figures who, without knowing it, may be fulfilling a greater plan, one prophetic plan that was already written in the scriptures thousands of years ago. Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel is not just a diplomatic victory for Israel, but a clear sign that we are seeing the fulfillment of a prophecy. Whether Trump is playing a bigger role, he may be, without realizing, triggering the beginning of the end. But the most interesting and disturbing thing is that, as events around Jerusalem unfold, the scenario for the reconstruction of the Third Temple seems to be getting closer. The Temple Institute in Israel already has construction plans ready. They have the sacred utensils and even trained priests for rituals. Why hasn't the temple been rebuilt yet? The answer is, perhaps, in global politics and the power of figures like Trump, which, with its decisions, may be preparing the ground for the reconstruction of the temple to be possible. Is it being used as a key piece of a prophetic plan that will transform the future of all humanity? Trump's role in this process is not a simple political issue, but something much deeper. Prophecies speak of a world leader who will bring false peace, and Trump, by supporting Israel and recognizing Jerusalem as its capital, may be, without knowing, accelerating the arrival of Antichrist. The most disturbing thing is that by strengthening Israel, he may be, without wanting to, setting the stage for the Antichrist reveals himself. And this raises a big question. Is Trump merely fulfilling the role of a world leader trying to bring peace, or is he unknowingly fulfilling an apocalyptic role that will change the destiny of the world? Time is speeding up, and Trump's actions and the events in Jerusalem, they are just the beginning of something much bigger. The reconstruction of the Third Temple will be the final signal that we are on the threshold of last days. If this really happens, then the apocalypse will no longer be far away, and what we are witnessing now could be the fulfillment of the prophecies that say that the Antichrist will emerge and deceive the nations. We are living in moments of great global transformation, and Trump's actions could be a catalyst for this. What do you think of everything that is happening in Jerusalem? Do you believe we are witnessing the beginning of end of times? Leave your opinion in the comments and share what you think about Trump's role in this prophecy. The Third Temple of Jerusalem is not just a religious symbol, it is one of the greatest prophetic signs in the Bible, directly linked to the fulfillment of the prophecies of the end of times. In Daniel 9:27 and Revelation 11:1-2, it is written that the Third Temple will be rebuilt before the arrival of Antichrist, and this will be the starting point of a new era, an apocalyptic era that will forever change the destiny of the world. When we talk about this temple, we are not just talking about a sacred place, but from the center of a prophetic fulfillment that will shake the structures of reality as we know it. Imagine this for a moment. The Bible has already warned us that rebuilding the Third Temple before the emergence of Antichrist, it will be the clear sign that the last days have arrived. It is no longer a remote theory or a historical coincidence. We are seeing the signs coming true now. The Third Temple and the convergence point for the beginning of the tribulation, which will be experienced by all inhabitants of the earth. And now, when we see the rapid acceleration of events, with the actions of Trump and his relationship with Israel, we can begin to see the construction of this temple not just as a religious event, but as the key to the prophetic last days. The reconstruction of the Third Temple has always been a point of great expectation for Orthodox Jews and for those who believe in end times prophecies. The Temple Institute in Israel already has the ready plans for construction, the prepared sacred utensils, and even trained priests for rituals. But what is needed for this temple to actually be built? What is stopping this prophecy from coming true now? The answer may be directly related to political and geopolitical factors, with leaders like Trump playing a central role in this process. Let's look at the current events and how they connect directly to the reconstruction of the temple. When Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, he not only defied decades of international diplomacy, but placed Jerusalem back at the center of biblical prophecy, causing the puzzle pieces fit more clearly. Your support for Israel and its movement towards strengthened ties between the West and the Middle East may be creating the perfect setting for the fulfillment of the prophecy due Third Temple. The Bible clearly says that the Third Temple will be the center of apocalyptic events, where the Antichrist will proclaim himself God, deceiving the nations of the world. This temple is not just a physical location, but it is the gateway to the fulfillment of the great tribulation that everyone fears. With the rebuilding of the temple, an arrival of the Antichrist will be imminent, and this will be the beginning of the greatest spiritual battle in history. The question that remains is, are we witnessing the first step towards this? Now think about what this means for the future of humanity. Are we on the verge of witnessing the fulfillment of this prophecy? With tensions in Jerusalem and Trump's growing relationship with Israel, a reconstruction of the temple may be closer than we imagine, and the connection with the prophecies is unavoidable. Trump, by recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, by supporting policies that favor Israel, may be, unintentionally, helping to accelerate the fulfillment of a biblical prophecy that defines the destiny of the world. It's hard to imagine, but we can't ignore what's happening. The Third Temple is not just a religious symbol for the Jews, but it is the most important prophetic sign which announces the end of times. The reconstruction of this temple will mark the beginning of a period of tribulation, and, as the Bible says, the coming of the Antichrist will be the direct consequence of this. The fact that Trump being so deeply involved with Israel raise one fundamental question. Is he in fact fulfilling a divine role, or is he unknowingly accelerating the process for the arrival of the Antichrist? The impact of this on the future of the world and colossal. The apocalypse that many fear may be closer than we think, and others' reconstruction of the Third Temple will be a clear sign of this. Trump, by supporting and boosting relations with Israel, could it be the key piece that is helping to set the stage for this great prophetic revelation? We can no longer look at events in Jerusalem with disdain or indifference, because they are the real signs of an event that will change everything. What do you think about Trump's role in rebuilding the Third Temple and fulfilling the prophecies of Revelation? How do you see this connection between Israel, Jerusalem, and biblical prophecies? Leave your comment below and share with us your vision about what's happening. In 2017, Trump did something historic, something that forever altered the course of international relations. He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, defying decades of international diplomacy and creating a wave of global reactions that no one could have predicted. The city of Jerusalem, a place of immense religious and symbolic value, is not just a point of political contention, but a central place in biblical prophecies. By making this decision, Trump not only changed the political landscape of the Middle East, but potentially paved the way for the fulfillment of apocalyptic prophecies. But what this decision really means, are we just seeing a political move, or is there something much deeper and prophetic at play? Trump is unknowingly paving the way for the reconstruction of the Third Temple. Or are we being led, subtly and silently, towards an apocalyptic event of major proportions? The answer to these questions may be more disturbing than you imagine. Jerusalem is not just any city. It is the center of the religious world for millions of people, with millennia of sacred history, and for many, it is the place where the future will be decided. The recognition of Trump as an ally of Israel and its decision to move the United States Embassy for Jerusalem, it was not just a diplomatic maneuver, but a sign of something much bigger that is unfolding before us. The Bible talks about the city becoming a point of great conflict and division in the last hours of humanity. And now, with the Trump's decision, this prophecy seems closer to coming true than ever. This decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, it's not something isolated. It connects to a great prophetic plan that is being fulfilled as the world aligns for events we may not fully understand yet. Could it be that, with this attitude, Trump is inadvertently fulfilling a role that could hasten the end times? The Bible already warns us that the reconstruction of the Third Temple is one of great signs of the apocalypse. Now, with Trump placing Jerusalem at the center of global attention, is he unintentionally helping to pave the way for this reconstruction? The tensions that arose from his decision were immense. Many countries around the world protested, and other powers feared the geopolitical consequences of such a thing. Not so much. The impact of this decision was not only political, but also spiritual and prophetic. For those who study the scriptures, the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel by Trump is not just a diplomatic move, but a catalyst that may have set the world toward an even larger and more feared global event, a fulfillment of the prophecies of the apocalypse. The most curious thing about all this is that no one expected that a simple decision by a world leader would trigger so much spiritual and prophetic impact. The reconstruction of the Third Temple is directly linked to this Trump's historic decision. Therefore, according to the scriptures, Jerusalem must be the central location for this monumental event, where, according to the prophecies, the Antichrist will proclaim himself as God. This temple, when rebuilt, it will not just be a sacred place, but the mark of the beginning of the Great Tribulation, a period of destruction and chaos that will change the course of human history. And so, the big question that arises is, Trump is actually paving the way for the reconstruction of the Third Temple. The decision he made in 2017 may be, in some way, aligned with this ancient prophecy, and with growing tension in Jerusalem, it seems that we are closer than ever to witnessing the fulfillment of this prophecy. Could he be inadvertently accelerating a divine process without knowing it? Or will he is, in fact, fulfilling the role of a leader who, with his actions, will fulfill a mission that goes beyond the political and enters the spiritual and prophetic realm? This leads us to a scary reflection. The world is being prepared for something we can no longer ignore. What seemed like a distant event or a theory, now it seems to come true before us. The recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel could be the first step towards realizing the greatest prophecies in the Bible. A reconstruction of the temple, the increase in tensions, and the Trump's power over Israel. These are signs that we can no longer ignore. How do you interpret Trump's decision? Are we witnessing the fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation? Leave your opinion in the comments about the impact of this decision on our reality and the future of humanity. Trump undoubtedly played a role central to the signing of the Abraham Accords, a series of historic agreements that normalized relations between Israel and several Arab countries. This movement changed the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East significantly, creating a new alliance dynamics and opening doors to peace, apparently. But are we seeing true peace or a false peace being built before us? When Trump and Arab leaders signed the Abraham Accords, many celebrated this historic rapprochement between Israel and countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and others. However, there is something deeper going on, something that is not being said openly. What is not said about these agreements is that they may actually be laying the groundwork for the rebuilding of the Third Temple in Jerusalem, an event that, according to Scripture, will mark the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Normalization of Israel's relations with Arab countries is not just a diplomatic victory, but a strategic move for something bigger. The focus of peace in the Middle East, in Jerusalem, it's not by chance. The Bible has already warned us that Jerusalem would become a point of great conflict, a burden to all nations. Through these peace agreements, alliances begin to be forged for something that can culminate in the reconstruction of the Temple, and others, temporary reconciliation between Israel and its neighbors could be the backdrop to a big mistake, a false peace that the Bible describes in 1 Thessalonians 5:3. It is a peace that comes before the true tribulation begins. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The Abraham Accords create a temporary peace, a balance between nations that, as historic as it is, it could be preparation for a major global conflict. The Bible describes that the Antichrist will emerge in a time of false peace, and this may be what we are witnessing now. Is this peace in the Middle East being forged to allow the rebuilding of the Third Temple to happen without resistance, paving the way for greater political and spiritual manipulation? See, the Abraham Accords are really part of a larger plan. This could mean that we are at a critical moment in history. Trump, by signing these agreements and supporting Israel, may inadvertently be helping to prepare the way for the fulfillment of the biblical prophecy of Revelation. The temple will be rebuilt. The Antichrist will proclaim himself as God, and it all fits together perfect with what we are living. It's interesting to think, because peace that is celebrated may not be the true peace that the Bible describes, but yes, a false peace which precedes the greatest spiritual and global crisis humanity has ever faced. The Abraham Agreement. It's just one piece of the puzzle, but it could be what opens the door to a big mistake. Are we being manipulated by leaders who are unknowingly helping to create the conditions for the arrival of the Antichrist? This is a profound reflection that demands our attention. Everything we are seeing in the Middle East, all the alliances being formed, all the political decisions, are connecting in a way that could be paving the way for the tribulation and the rise of the Antichrist. What seemed like a victory for peace, one diplomatic conquest, may actually be the preparation for something much bigger, darker, and much more destructive. We are, in fact, living in a period of deception, where the peace actions are being used as a disguise for global control, where the Antichrist will use the apparent peace as a springboard for establish a world government that will control all nations and people. Are these peace agreements just a prelude to what's to come? What we are witnessing now is a transition between false peace and great destruction that is being orchestrated by those who do not see the spiritual and prophetic consequences of their actions. Now imagine the impact of all this on your life and the future of subsequent generations. We are truly prepared for what lies ahead, or are we just ignoring the signs that are being given, blind to the fact that this temporary peace is being used to prepare the way for the Antichrist? What do you think of this? These peace agreements really are what they seem to be? Or do you believe that there's something deeper at play? Leave it in the comments. What did this message bring to you, and how you see the Abraham Accords in the context of biblical prophecies? In recent years, many in Israel have compared Donald Trump to Cyrus the Great, the Persian king who, as described in Scripture, allowed the reconstruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. This comparison may seem surprising, but the idea that Trump is fulfilling a divine role in the plan to rebuild the temple is not just speculative. It is being widely discussed and even symbolized in Israel. Some even minted coins with the image of Trump next to Cairo, showing not only a public acknowledgement of this comparison, but also an assertion that he may be performing a prophetic role within biblical prophecies. But what does this really mean for us? What are these comparisons and symbols telling us? Does this parallelism between Trump and Cyrus is really a clear sign that he was chosen by God to fulfill a prophetic mission? We are, in fact, watching the development of a great divine plan, or perhaps we are just being led down the path of a great deception that will surprise us when we least expect it. Trump, throughout his presidency, demonstrated a unique and strategic relationship with Israel, a central nation for end-times prophecies. He was the first president of the United States to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, something many other world leaders have hesitated to do. That historic decision appears to have placed Trump in an even more important position in prophecies of revelation. But is he really a leader chosen to prepare the way for the rebuilding of the temple? Or is he just following a script written by forces that he himself does not control? A comparison with Cyrus is fascinating because Cyrus, according to the Bible, was used by God to fulfill his will without knowing. Cyrus was not a man of faith, but his actions fulfilled the divine plan, allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. This happened when the people of Israel were in captivity in Babylon, and Cairo unexpectedly freed the Jews to return to their promised land and rebuild the temple. He was, according to Bible, a tool in the hands of God, playing a crucial role in spiritual restoration of Israel. Now, we see a surprising parallel com Trump. Could it be that, like Cyrus, Trump is being used by God, even if he doesn't know it? Or are we witnessing the beginning of something much darker and manipulated by hidden forces? The reconstruction of the Third Temple is not just a religious issue, but also a prophetic question. For when the temple is erected, it will become the center of the greatest apocalyptic events in history. The Bible talks about a leader who will proclaim himself God inside the temple, deceiving the nations of the world. Is Trump, by recognizing Jerusalem and supporting Israel's cause, inadvertently fulfilling the role of a divine instrument, just as Cairo did? Or is he, in fact, being manipulated by forces that are using him for darker purposes? The idea that he might be playing a prophetic leader role in the last days puts your figure in a light complex and mysterious. The comparison with Cairo also raises an even more important question. Trump is being used to open doors for the fulfillment of prophecies, or are we being prepared for a great deception? The Bible describes the Antichrist like a charismatic leader who will bring temporary peace, but in reality will bring destruction. Will the temporary peace we see now with political alliances and others' reconstruction of the temple may be part of the fulfillment of a big deception that deceives the whole world? Trump's role in biblical prophecies has been shown to be one of the most mysterious and meaningful of his presidency. When comparing his actions to those of Cyrus, we cannot help but wonder, is Trump really being used by God, or is he being manipulated into being part of something much bigger and darker? That doubt is essential to understand the future we are building, because the impact of your decisions not limited to the field of politics. They may have spiritual and prophetic consequences of enormous proportions. We are, in fact, in a moment of decision, where the Trump's actions in relation to Israel and the reconstruction of the temple, they can be the key to upcoming global events that will change everything we know about human history. We will be witnesses to the fulfillment of the scriptures, or we will be led to a great prophetic trap. That will take the world by surprise. Now, considering all these implications, what do you think about Trump's role in this prophecy? Do you believe it is being used to hasten the fulfillment of Scripture, or are we seeing just the first phase of a great deception? Share your opinion in the comments about Trump's role in set the stage for the reconstruction of the temple and the impact of this on the future of humanity. In Revelation 13:16-17, the Bible speaks of a brand that will be imposed on everyone. A global control system where no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast. That prophecy has long been seen as something distant and metaphorical, but we are now seeing clear signs that this global control system is beginning to take shape. The rise of cryptocurrencies and digital financial systems is a growing reality, and with that, we are closer than ever to experiencing the implementation of this brand that the Bible describes. What seemed like a conspiracy theory is now becoming real, and Trump, in supporting financial innovations, may be inadvertently speeding up this process that will change the way we buy, sell, and even we live our lives. The mark of the beast, as described in Revelation, is a system of absolute control that will restrict individual freedom in a way that we never imagined. The Bible says that in the future, no one will be able to buy or sell without the brand, and with the introduction of digital financial systems and biometric Identification, technologies that are rapidly gaining ground. This scenario may not be so far away. What seemed to be a theoretical concept is now becoming an increasingly tangible reality. Trump, by supporting the digitalization of the economy and boosting cryptocurrencies, you may be, without knowing it, opening the doors to a global financial control system which aligns perfectly with the Bible's descriptions of Mark of the Beast. When he promotes cryptocurrencies and demands greater digital financial control, he may be, in some way, paving the way for the creation of a centralized system where the global economy will be fully monitored and controlled by a restricted number of entities. What seemed like a financial breakthrough could actually be the implementation of a system that will eliminate people's purchasing power and choice. These emerging technologies, especially in the cryptocurrencies and digital finance, are not just economic innovations. They have the potential to transform the world into a place where everything is tracked and no one can escape absolute control. Trump has a great influence on global financial decisions, and your actions regarding these innovations can, unintentionally, contributing to the creation of the apocalyptic scenario that was predicted in the scriptures. What appeared to be a strategic move to promote a more efficient economy, now it can be the first step towards building a system that puts people's freedom at risk. If you stop to think, what we are really seeing are the first signs of a global shift in financial control. Digitization of the economy is on the path to creating a reality where financial transactions, the goods we buy, and even our identity will be completely interconnected in a centralized system of control. With the rise of cryptocurrencies, as digital currencies are gaining traction and creating new power dynamics, what could be the key to a total control system as described in the Bible? The most alarming thing about this is that Trump, in supporting these financial innovations, you may be, without realizing it, accelerating the implementation of this global control system where the individual freedoms will be sacrificed in the name of a centralized and monitored economy. The fear that the mark of the beast become a reality, real and tangible, is becoming increasingly clear. With the advancement of technologies, the creation of a fully digitized and interconnected financial system seems to be inevitable. Trump, by getting significantly involved in this process, it is helping to accelerate a transition that will take us directly into the control system described in Revelation. We are living at a critical time when global financial decisions and technological innovations may actually be leading us into a future where our personal freedoms will be limited and our power of choice will be in the hands of a few. And the big question is, we are prepared for this? Imagine, for a moment, the consequence of living in a system where our financial choices, our identity, and even our freedom to buy and sell would depend on a single, centralized system. That is no longer a dystopian fantasy, but a growing reality, driven by digitalization of the economy and by cryptocurrency technology. Maybe we are moving towards the fulfillment of biblical prophecies, where individual freedom is replaced by a system of absolute control. As Trump and his policies regarding digitalization may be, without knowing, contributing to the construction of this global control system. What do you think about the introduction of digital systems and cryptocurrencies in our society? Do you believe we are really close to witnessing the fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation with the implementation of a global financial control system? Leave yours in the comments opinion on emerging technologies and the Trump's role in this process that can undoubtedly shape the future of humanity. The Temple Institute Everything is already prepared for the reconstruction of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. The plans are ready, sacred utensils were made, and even priests are being trained for the rituals that will be performed in the temple. This is no longer a distant aspiration, but a reality in the process of being realized. The Bible tells us clearly about the need for a new temple before the arrival of the Antichrist, and while rebuilding the temple appears to become more of a tangible possibility, the question that arises is, when will the temple finally be rebuilt? Are we in fact witnessing the fulfillment of a prophecy that will lead the world to a new stage of desolation and redemption? In Daniel 9:27 and Revelation 11:1-2, the Bible describes that the third temple will be erected before the arrival of Antichrist and from great tribulation. We are therefore living in an era prophetic, where the events described in Scripture are materializing before our eyes. The big question is, when will this construction actually begin? The presence of Trump on the global stage and its unrestricted support for Israel put one even greater focus on Jerusalem. The fact that Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, it was not just a political action, it was a movement that lit a flame of global tensions and ushered in a new era of spiritual and geopolitical confrontations. With the growing movement in the Middle East, are we just witnessing the beginning of a reconstruction of the temple, or are we being prepared to fulfill a cycle that will transform the destiny of humanity? When we look at the apocalyptic signs that are already demonstrating, as wars, natural disasters, and financial crises, it is difficult not to notice the convergence of these events with what the Bible describes as the beginning of the Great Tribulation. The signs are everywhere: growing tension in Jerusalem, military conflicts in various regions of the world, and the economic lack of control on a scale never seen before. It seems like we are living in a transitional era where the future of humanity is being charted, and Jerusalem became the center of this entire process. With Trump being a central figure in this scenario, we may be witnessing the beginning of what the Bible describes as the coming of the Antichrist and the Great Tribulation. Is the rebuilding of the Third Temple the final event that will mark the fulfillment of the prophecies? What we are seeing in the world now is more than a simple power fluctuation. We are seeing a process which will culminate in global control of nations and the rise of a global figure that will unite the world around one false peace. But will this peace last? Or, as the scriptures state, are we just witnessing a build-up to something much more devastating? Apocalyptic signs are everywhere, and others reconstruction of the temple. It could be the final sign that will lead us to the fulfillment of one of the most feared prophecies, the Antichrist sitting in the temple and proclaiming himself as God. Are we ready for this reality? How what we are experiencing now directly connects with the words described in Revelation. We are seeing the end times approaching, or are we still blind to the signs that are happening around us? With the reconstruction of the temple becoming increasingly imminent, the question we should all ask, and how will we prepare for this event? What will happen when, finally, the temple is erected and the Antichrist manifests himself? Could it be that what we are witnessing now with Trump and Israel is the key to this monumental change, as we, as individuals, can position ourselves in the face of an uncertain and transformative future? A spiritual and physical battle that the scriptures predict for us is approaching alarming way. Jerusalem has become a flashpoint, not only political, but also spiritual, with the fate of the world hanging over the holy city. When the third temple is finally rebuilt, will be the starting point for the final events described in the book of Revelation. And with Trump at the center of this transformation, are we about to witness the fulfillment of the prophecies that predict the rise of the Antichrist? Or are we just living in a time of temporary peace before the greatest spiritual and geopolitical challenges in history begin? The world is heading towards something we can no longer ignore, as political decisions like the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and the actions of Trump in relation to the global economy and the Middle East may be triggering a larger process that is beyond the control of many. Do Trump's actions have a prophetic role that he himself does not understand? Could he be unwittingly helping to speed up the rebuilding of the Third Temple and thereby paving the way for the arrival of the Antichrist? It's time to stop and reflect on everything that is happening around us. Are you truly aware of the impact of these decisions on the future of humanity? Are we preparing for what's to come, or are we just passively watching the signs unfold before our eyes? How could rebuilding the Third Temple change the course of history? Leave in the comments your vision about the reconstruction of the Third Temple and the impact of all this on the future of humanity. How do you interpret Trump's actions on the global stage and the role of Jerusalem in the prophecies of Revelation? Trump has always had an immense global influence, and its economic policies can be the key to a future that many are afraid to face. Other decisions he has made creating the perfect ground for the global financial control that the Bible describes, a digitalization of the economy, as cryptocurrencies and the advancement of tracking technologies have taken us to a scenario where we will no longer have control over our own finances. We are heading towards a future where financial choices are completely controlled by a centralized system, as described in apocalyptic prophecies. This is no longer a conspiracy theory, but a growing reality that is taking shape before us. When Trump boosts the use of cryptocurrencies and promotes innovative financial technologies, He may, without knowing it, be accelerating the process of creating a global financial system. One system where all financial transactions and movements are being monitored and controlled by a global elite, according to what the Bible describes in Revelation 13, as cryptocurrencies and the advances in biometric identification are becoming increasingly common, creating a basis for absolute control over the world economy. If the Bible talks about a control system where no one can buy or sell without a mark, so we are seeing the first steps of this system being taken now with the help of emerging financial technologies. Trump's relationship with these innovations can be seen as a strategic move to position the United States at the forefront of this global transition, but there is also a darker reality behind it. The Bible already warned us that financial control will be one of the main tools of the Antichrist. Is Trump, by supporting these technologies and policies, inadvertently creating a path to a system where our financial freedom will be subjugated to absolute control? Could what we are seeing as financial innovations actually be setting the stage for the global control prophesied in Revelation? With the cryptocurrencies gaining more space, the biometric identification becoming an everyday reality, and the tracking technologies expanding, we can no longer deny that we are on the verge of a great transformation, financial and economic. The mark of the beast, as described in Revelation, will be a control system where no one will be able to carry out financial transactions without being identified by a centralized system. The Bible describes this clearly, and as technological advances gain ground, it seems that we are moving faster towards the implementation of this system. The fundamental question is, are we preparing for this? We are truly aware of the impact of these technologies on our individual freedom. When looking at the current scenario where financial transactions are increasingly digital, a biometric identification is being implemented in more countries, and cryptocurrencies are accepted by a growing number of companies, it is clear that the foundations for the prophetic system of Revelation are now being laid, and Trump, with his economic policies, could be a key figure in this process. That global transformation in the financial system, it could be one of the greatest milestones of the end times. We are seeing the beginning of a system that could replace what we know as economic and financial freedom, but are we prepared for the consequences of this new system? A possibility of global control, where all our financial transactions and decisions are monitored and controlled, is becoming more and more real. Are we being led to that future without even realizing? As these technologies expand, the mark of the beast, it seems closer than we ever imagined. Global financial control, as described in Revelation 13, is no longer a distant idea, but something we are living in the present. Trump and his economic decisions may unknowingly be the catalyst for building this system of control. The most disturbing thing is that many people still don't realize the seriousness of what is happening, and we are closer than ever to seeing the implementation of a system that will radically change the way we live. What's at stake now is our freedom. If the Bible is correct, and this global financial control truly comes to fruition, we will be living in a world where individual choices and freedom of action will be limited. As prophecies of Revelation talk about a global control system where we cannot buy or sell without being registered. In this system, and it seems that we are moving towards this scenario faster and faster. What once seemed distant is now a reality under construction before our eyes. Now stop for a moment and think about this. Are we really prepared to live in a world where our financial freedom and choice will be limited by a system of global control? How do you see Trump's role and his economic policies in this process that could lead to the realization of the mark of the beast? Let your thoughts in the comments about what is happening in the financial world and the impact this could have on the future of humanity. As we analyze recent history and global political decisions, a disturbing thought begins to emerge. Trump, with his relationship with Israel and his stance in the Middle East, may be inadvertently accelerating the fulfillment of the prophecies of the apocalypse. Your historic decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2017, it was a movement immense geopolitical. This action, which caused a wave of international reactions, was not just a political strategy but an inflection point on the world stage. But when we look at the broader context of Scripture and the global events that unfold now, could it be that Trump is fulfilling a greater prophetic role than we imagine? In the Bible, The city of Jerusalem is described as the center of the fulfillment of great prophecies, especially in last hours of humanity. In Daniel 9:27 and Revelation 11:1-2, the third temple of Jerusalem, and the key to the fulfillment of the prophecies that precede the arrival of the Antichrist. The reconquest of Jerusalem by Israel, the support of Trump to this cause, and preparations for the reconstruction of the temple, they are transforming this spiritual event into an imminent reality. But without knowing it, Trump is contributing to the fulfillment of these prophecies. Or are we witnessing a geopolitical movement that is inadvertently setting the stage for something much bigger? The Bible already describes that the Antichrist will sit in the temple and proclaim that he is God. This event is one of the milestones of the end times, and the idea that we are so close to seeing the third temple rebuilt, it is not something to be ignored. The Temple Institute in Israel already have concrete plans for the reconstruction of the temple, and the sacred utensils are ready. Priests are being trained, waiting for the moment when the temple will be rebuilt, and with that, the prophecy will be fulfilled. The fact that all this is happening so quickly, while Trump strengthens ties with Israel, put Jerusalem in the global spotlight in a way that has never been seen before. Then, what is Trump's role in this scenario? Did he is unknowingly being used by God to help fulfill the prophecies of Daniel and Apocalypse, or will it he is helping to prepare the ground for the arrival of the Antichrist? This is a critical issue, as the rebuilding of the third temple will mark the end of peace and the beginning of the Great Tribulation. This could be happening now while the world seems to be in a sort of spiritual and geopolitical conflict in which Jerusalem becomes the point of convergence of forces spiritual and worldly. When we analyze the Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, what seemed like a simple political move in support of Israel now appears to be connecting directly with the apocalyptic events described in the Bible. The city of Jerusalem, as the center of spiritual dispute, becomes even more relevant for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. What does this mean for the future of the world? We are seeing the fulfillment of a prophecy, or are we just witnessing a series of political and religious movements which in the end will be part of a bigger mistake? When Trump made his decision to move the US Embassy to Jerusalem, he was not only breaking away from international diplomacy, but placing Jerusalem at the center of biblical prophecy. What this decision means for the world? Could he be unknowingly paving the way for the fulfillment of the apocalypse, with all the signs of wars, natural disasters, economic crises, and growth of religious persecution becoming increasingly evident? We are living in a critical time where the global events are unfolding quickly, and Jerusalem is at the center of this movement. Will the construction of the third temple and the increase in tension in Jerusalem are clear signs that we are witnessing the beginning of an apocalyptic era, as described in Revelation 13, to be temporary peace scenario? It's happening now while agreements between Israel and Arab countries, promoted by Trump, are seen by many as a false peace, what prepares the way for the emergence of Antichrist. The true purpose of Trump supporting Israel may be aligned with something much bigger and more spiritual than he can perceive. That false peace is a concept described in the Bible where, before the Great Tribulation, Antichrist will bring peace by force, deceiving the nations into worshipping him. And, as Trump strengthens his alliances with Israel and other Middle Eastern powers, may be involuntarily contributing to the fulfillment of this crucial phase of apocalyptic prophecies. A true peace, as the Bible describes, will only be achieved when the true Messiah return, and it will not be before that. What we are witnessing now, with the rebuilding of the temple and tensions in Jerusalem, could be the starting point for the Great Tribulation that awaits us. All these events are converging to one point: the construction of the third temple, Trump's role in relation to Israel, and the growing global crisis can be more than just political and religious coincidences. Are we living in a time of spiritual and geopolitical transition? Is Trump, in fact, fulfilling a prophetic role that he himself does not understand? How do your actions are directly connected with the fulfillment of prophecies? We are on the verge of witnessing the beginning of the end, and all we need to do is pay attention to the signs that are unfolding in front of us. These questions are not simple, and the answer cannot be ignored. Everything we're seeing now, Trump's actions, the construction of the third temple, tensions in Jerusalem, alliances in the Middle East, they are clear signals. What are we about living a moment of great spiritual importance? The rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem is more than just a religious event. It is the key to accomplishing everything described in Revelation, and the Trump's role in this equation is fundamental. Now, think about all this and reflect deeply. Do you believe we are witnessing the fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation? Are Trump's actions really paving the way for the Antichrist and the Great Tribulation, or are we just starting to see the signs of something even greater? Leave your opinion in the comments. How do you see the role of Jerusalem, the Third Temple, and Trump himself in this apocalyptic context that is taking shape before our eyes? Now that you have reflected on the Trump's decisions as political actions he took and their impact on the scenario global prophetic, it's time to face issues head-on. Are we really witnessing the fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation? Will the Trump's actions in relation to Israel, Jerusalem, and their influence on international relations, they are aligned with a divine plan that we are beginning to understand? Or are we facing something more complex, greater, and more sinister manipulation that goes beyond what we can perceive now? These questions demand our urgent attention because what is happening on the global stage can be what we always fear. Time is speeding up, and decisions that are made today have the potential to change the world forever. The apocalyptic scenario that many believe to be distant appears to be approaching at a speed that we can't ignore it anymore. The Third Temple, a tension in Jerusalem, the growing Trump's power, and the decisions strategic geopolitics are connected in a way that puts us before a spiritual and historical crossroads. The world is transforming before our eyes, and the impact of these transformations goes beyond anything we have ever experienced. Now is the time to reflect on what this all means for the future. How do you see Trump's role in biblical prophecies? We are truly witnessing the fulfillment of a divine plan that is being revealed before us, or there is something more sinister and manipulative behind these changes we are seeing? What is Trump's role in international alliances, religious issues, and economic policies telling us about the last days the Bible predicted? As the global financial control expands, a reconstruction of the Jerusalem temple appears closer, and tensions around Jerusalem intensify. The fundamental question, what we should all do is, we are prepared for what is to come. A great tribulation and the arrival of Antichrist are central themes in apocalyptic prophecies, and we are at a crucial moment where everything seems to converge towards the fulfillment of these ancient predictions. What happens in the next few years could define the fate of us all, and others' responsibility to understand and prepare for these events is something we can no longer postpone. A change is happening now, and we can no longer sit on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen. Without taking an active position in our understanding and preparation, the world is on the move, and what we are experiencing may be the key to spiritual and historical revelations that the Bible announced. Now, more than ever, it is crucial to be aware of what is happening in the world around us and understand how this fits into the prophecies of Revelation. With all this in mind, think about the future and the impact we are experiencing. What do you believe about Trump's role in the Revelation prophecies? Could it be that what we see happening with Jerusalem, the Third Temple, and global financial power, is it really part of a greater divine plan? Leave in the comments your reflections on what we are witnessing now. Your vision is essential to enrich this debate, and so that we can together understand the depths of the signals we are receiving. What we discussed today is not just a reflection, but an urgent call for action. Every event, every political decision, every geopolitical movement that we are observing has the potential to transform the course of history irreversibly. By exploring the role of Trump in the apocalyptic prophecies, a reconstruction of the Third Temple, and the impact that Jerusalem has in the fulfillment of the Scriptures, it is clear that we are living in a crucial moment. And you, as a spectator, it's not just someone watching these events. You is part of a larger movement, a movement that seeks understand, share, and transform the future through knowledge. Now more than ever, you are part of this community. By subscribing to the channel, you are not just watching videos, you are strengthening a network of people committed to the truth and a deep understanding of the world we live in. Your presence here is crucial, and their participation is fundamental so that we can, together, shape the future of spiritual and historical understanding. Sign up now and be the protagonist of this incredible mission. The impact we are creating starts with you. Each comment you leave is a seed of reflection and transformation. Your opinion has the power to enrich the purpose of the channel, bringing diversity of thought and contributing to meaningful dialogue. We want to know what touched you today. Write in the comments and inspire others with your unique perspective. Your voice is essential to build something bigger and deeper, and by sharing it, you strengthen our mission of spreading knowledge and awakening awareness. Like this video, and be part of a larger transformation. Every like helps to spread this message to more people, expanding the impact we can generate together. It's not just about numbers, but of expand collective understanding about what is happening in the world and how this connects with prophecies and future events. Like now and be a catalyst for this global change, because with each gesture of support, the truth goes further and more people will be impacted. There is something unexpected and fascinating waiting for you. Watch the next video now and dive even deeper into this topic. Surprising revelations are coming, and what you will see will be a continuation of the exploration of truths that many prefer not to see. Don't miss the next chapter of a content that will transform your vision of the future.